back to the Tickets Towards Success podcast. I'm your host, Tucker Nunakoven. I want to thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about money and how your mindset towards money can make or break your wealth journey. Just as a quick disclaimer, none of the information in this episode is financial advice. I am stating my opinion on how to build wealth through having the proper mindset. With that being said, let's jump into this episode. I personally believe, and a lot of others believe, psychologists specifically, that money beliefs are formed early on. Our first lessons about money come from our environment. What our parents said or what they didn't say, how they handled money, how the people around us handled money, and what was considered normal. Having abundance of money, having no money, having a little bit of money. To me, this was seen at a very young age for me. The money cycle of the middle class, basically. And being brought up as, now my parents didn't shove this down my throat, but it was more of, this is more than likely all you could probably have. Or, we didn't go to college, so if you go to college, you'll have way more than us. But that's not necessarily true either. So I think it's important that once you get out of that cycle and you get into different environments and you become more knowledgeable about certain topics, is when you really start to learn about great financial habits. As long as you are consistently wanting to become more knowledgeable on important aspects of life, important topics, finance, personal finance is critical in our lives, whether we want it to be or not. It's always going to be there. So becoming more knowledgeable on that topic is crucial. I want to give some examples as well. Some people are taught that money is scarce and hard to get. Others are taught that money equals happiness. There's a lot of people that are taught that money only comes with hard work, while others don't work hard for money. These beliefs are powerful and often operate unconsciously. Once we see how money is earned from our specific environment, that's when we start thinking that's the only way it can be earned. For example, my parents worked their butts off all the time to have the things that they have, to make the money that they do. So to me, I was taught that money only comes when you work hard. And I was never really taught to think outside the box when it comes to making money. And that's something that I'm kind of going through right now is, hey, I don't necessarily have to do it a certain way that I was brought up to do it. Now, working hard is extremely valuable and extremely important when it comes to any aspect. That's what it takes. I'm talking more of a sense of, hey, my dad works 4 or 5 jobs in the summer. He's busy all the time. You don't necessarily have to do that in order to make more money. The hard work still comes, but if you put hard work into 1 or 2 things instead of 4, and those 2 things are the right things, the outcome could be more beneficial. So while these beliefs are powerful, we have to continue to be open-minded about personal finance and creating wealth for our own lives. There's a psychologist, his name is Brad Klontz. I don't know if that's correct. Hopefully it is. but he refers to these internalized narratives as money scripts. So these scripts, they drive many of our adult financial behaviors without us even realizing it. So if you have parents or you are in an environment that spent more money than they had, you're being handed that script from being in that environment when you go off on your own, and you're reading from that script as you manage your finances and as you spend money, as you save money. You're basically just reading from that script because it's all you know. And you know, I don't put blame on those people because it's how you're raised, it's the environment that you're in, and sometimes it's all that people know. That's why I go back to the aspect of having awareness and thinking outside the box and becoming knowledgeable. You can do this through reading financial books. You can do it through YouTube. YouTube is a great source. I know a lot of people love and hate YouTube. There's a love-hate relationship there, but I'm telling you that if you can find the right people to listen to, if you can find credible people, there's a lot you can learn with the power of YouTube, and it's free. You don't have to pay some advisor to teach you about money when they're not really teaching you. They just want you to give them their money so they can make a profit, and they can just throw it into a ETF, which is super simple to do. But anyways, that's a different conversation for a different day. But using these resources, I read a lot of financial books too that have helped me really determine my personal finances and help me take a step back and look at what they look like. Now, another great tool that you can do is you can start creating a budget that works for you and tracks your spending and your investments. You have to include your investments. Investing is super important. I think there's a few key ones that you definitely need to be in. That's a Roth IRA and also a high yield savings account instead of a traditional savings account through a traditional bank. Traditional bank savings accounts net you 0.01% interest per year, and a high yield savings account that is covered by the FDIC up to $250,000 in that account, which you shouldn't have more than that in there anyways. It's covered up to that, and that'll yield you anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5% interest every single year. So you have to be willing to look at those things. So where would it be more beneficial to put your savings at, or to have a different savings account? Probably be in that high yield savings account. What's the point of putting it in your banks when it's not really doing anything for you? It's just sitting there. And one thing that I do is I will research and study important financial decisions, mainly because I didn't see that being done as I was growing up. And I've made that same mistake in the past. And sometimes it's a blessing and a curse. But when I was growing up, for lots of big purchases, I never really saw any kinds of research being done about a product that my parents were purchasing. And I think that that's super, super important. Now, maybe they did, maybe I just didn't see it. But to me, there was a lot of things that happened to some products that you could tell that there wasn't a lot of research being done. So I'm going to give a quick example. I just bought a new car, and it took me a while to figure out what car I wanted, what would be the best option for me. I looked at many different cars. I did a lot of research on different companies, on different models of cars inside those companies, gas mileage stuff, because gas mileage figures into how much money you're going to spend on gas every single month. Like, there's just so much you can do, and you don't need to go extremely deep into some of these. But for a big purchase like a car, I mean, I did that. We're talking 5-6 years of having that car with a payment. So it was something that I wanted to make sure I did correctly, because it was also something that when I grew up, I didn't see the most research being done, or when you're purchasing a car, having it be looked over and having it come from a trusted person. Now, I don't blame, my parents or anything. I'm not dogging on them at all. I'm just showing and explaining how I've grown in personal finance, because it's very, very important, because you need to tailor it to your own life, and in order to find success in personal finance, you have to be willing to come out of the environment that you're in. Another example could be if you come from a family that is extremely wealthy and you get everything handed to you. If it was all suddenly taken away, you'd probably have terrible financial habits. You'd be spending way more money than you probably should be, and you need to still learn about good financial habits. Now, sometimes in those families that are extremely wealthy, you can get lucky, because I feel like the people that made that money probably have decent financial habits. They may not, though. It just all depends on the situation. But that is one thing that I have learned, and one thing that I do. And I did this for my watch, my fitness watch. I do this for clothes, running shoes. I'm looking around my apartment. Oh, podcast gear, my mic, my laptop, my camera, my audio interface I have over here. Literally everything. I will do a little to a lot of research depending on the value of that purchase. Now, I think this is one of the most important things that I've learned, because usually emotions will drive financial decisions. Behavioral finance shows us that money decisions are often emotional, not logical. There's some common triggers with this, and I'm sure a lot of people listening can probably relate. Number one, fear of missing out, FOMO. Thinking that you're missing something fantastic, so going and spending the money on it when you might not, or you maybe shouldn't be. Stress shopping is a big one, or retail therapy. That's what you want to call it. If you had something happen in your life that was a little bit traumatic, and you use shopping as a way of therapy. There could also be shame around debt, or a feeling of not having enough, so you just go spend it anyways, which is never, never a good idea. And that's only going to make matters worse. There could be guilt when spending on yourself, or you could have a high ego, and you could be trying to fit in with the crowd that you think that you want to be in, or think that you need to be in. That one is a big one. I think a lot of people in America do that, especially when it comes to cars, and when it comes to houses, when it comes to materialistic items. Unfortunately, you just have to learn to set your ego aside. You have to build those healthy financial habits first. You have to learn to get what you want by not going above and beyond what you can afford. The thing that damages people the most with these emotional financial decisions is that emotional spending is often a short-term solution for a deeper issue. The main issue never goes away. And it feels good in the moment. It's kind of like using drugs or alcohol as a suppressor to maybe anxiety, depression, or not wanting to be in your head. It's the same thing. They're both very unhealthy habits, and can lead to more anxiety, more depression, more stress. So it's short term. It's not lasting. It's not going to fix anything. A way that you can fix your emotional financial decisions is you can learn to recognize your emotional pattern. This gives you power over it. If you know that if you have a tough day, a stressful day, or something happens during your day, and you know that you usually go out and you shop after that happens, or you go on Amazon and you fill up your cart with 20 items and you purchase that and you spend $500 like that, if you can be aware of that, you can take power over it. You can learn to master not doing it or master delayed gratification as well. You can learn how to go through that difficult day and learn how to cope with it in a healthy way. So we have to stop stressing about what you do and don't have. I truly believe that if you have a certain vision for your life, you can have it. But you need to make sure you go about it correctly when it comes to finances. You can have that vision while having healthy financial habits. There's other ways to do it besides just putting yourself into thousands of dollars of debt. You can find a way to make more money. You can invest it properly that's going to get you a better yield. Delayed gratification, delayed gratification. This way is a healthy way because you won't feel guilty. You won't feel nervous when you do make a big purchase because you know that you are stable. You know that your money is secure. You know that your finances are well. There's no stress there's no stress behind making this decision. That is my personal plan as well. I plan to find other avenues. I plan to invest in multiple different types of investments. It all plays a part into why I do what I do. It isn't everything, but it plays a part. Just as a quick reminder, if you are enjoying this episode today, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who you think could benefit from this episode or from the previous episodes that I have done. I thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. And let's get back to the episode. Now, there are a few mindset shifts that are important when it comes to trying to generate wealth, when it comes to your journey to becoming more wealthy. I'd say the most important one would be to shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity. What does that mean? There will never be enough. That's how people think when they think in the form of scarcity. What is abundance? There is more than enough, and I can create more. I just need to figure out how. Super, super important. Like I just said, there is other avenues that you can find. There are other ways to do it. You have to be willing to become uncomfortable. Go out and find those ways. You have to be willing to become uncomfortable by living on less than you make in the time being in order to get to where you want to go. You should also have a mindset shift from switching from consumer to investor. Don't ask yourself, can I afford this? Ask, will buying this help me build long-term wealth or value? This is how I'm trying to shift my brain to work when I'm purchasing items, when I'm looking at price tags. So something that goes through my head is, if I spend this amount of money on this product, that is so much money that I could be putting towards my investments this month or next month. So basically, if I go out and I spend $400 on a product, whatever that may be, or if I go out and I'm looking for a product and it's $400 and I'm looking at the price tag, in my mind, I'm thinking, I can either spend $400 on this product that's going to give me this outcome, or I can take the $400 that I'm going to spend on this product and I can put it towards my investments for the next month so I'm ahead. That's how I'm trying to train my brain to work during most purchases. We also need to learn to shift from immediate gratification to long term growth. Delayed gratification, super important, not only in finances, but in life in general. Train your mind to delay gratification and find satisfaction in progress, not impulse. It's one of the hardest things to do, but it's so necessary. It's so hard. I struggle with it really bad because sometimes I think I need to have it now. I need to have it right now because honestly, I don't even know why I think that. But sometimes I do think that, like, for example, with my running, sometimes I feel like I have to have a new pair of freaking shoes every 3 months, but I don't because I have 5 pairs over there. And I'm really just working through that and figuring out what is an actual need instead of an actual want. And that's something that I feel like so many of us struggle with and continue to struggle with. And it's all about building that awareness and becoming better with your finances and developing delayed gratification. There's a quote by Epictetus, who is a famous philosopher. They said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. It's powerful. It's a really good quote, and it really puts it into perspective of what wealth really is. To me, if I had to define wealth, wealth would equal time. Being wealthy hopefully creates more time. And more time is the most valuable currency that we have. You can't get it back, you can't make more of it. So being able to have more of it would be a true definition of wealth, at least to me. I want to talk about some practical tools to rewire your money mindset and how you can start to develop, even today, start to develop a better mindset towards money, towards your spending habits, towards your investing. Number one is to track your spending and observe your emotional patterns. Make sure you're only spending money on what you specifically need and then taking a step back and seeing maybe some of the small wants that you do have and observe those emotional patterns. Make sure you see those cues and those triggers see those cues that trigger you to spend more money. You can also turn on automatic deposits. You can automate your savings. You can automate your investing. You can automate your bills. Doing this makes it simplified, makes it a lot easier for you. Practice gratitude. It combats the scarcity mindset. So you're killing two birds with one stone there. And practicing that gratitude and developing that delayed gratification is only going to help you not only in finances, but also just in every aspect of life. I would also highly recommend setting financial goals to help you start working towards something. Maybe a larger purchase that you would like to have, or a vacation, or investing, or something later on down the road like a house or a new car. And then also tailoring these financial goals to your specific situation and what you're trying to accomplish as well. Some other financial goals could be like setting a goal to pay off debt in a certain amount of time. I will do this with my student loans. If I want to pay a certain amount over a certain period of time, for example, if I want to pay $3,000 over 6 months, I know that I'm going to have to put $500 every single month towards my student loans. So I'm going to throw that into my budget. I'm going to throw that into my investings tab. So I know exactly how much I have to be putting in there to hit my goal for that 6 months. So paying off debt, student loans, car, house, credit cards, anything. You can also set a goal like saving up for something you want. So instead of buying it right away, save up for it. Say you want a new watch. This watch was, I don't even know, $450. Instead of just going out and buying it right now and getting stressed about it, you can start putting away $50 a week or $50 a month, whatever you can do to start saving up for that watch. It can really be used for anything. Another great tool to use, and I talked about this briefly, but read books or use the internet like YouTube to learn about personal finance, to learn about different aspects of money. I think it's so, so important. And I'm going to go back to my car example. When I purchased my car and I was doing all this research and accumulating all this knowledge, I learned so much about buying a car that I had no idea about. I learned about all the interest. I learned about how purchasing works, all the fees that you have to pay. I learned about how to pay off your car loan faster. I learned about selling tactics even that car sellers use. And then in return, I learned about, as a buyer, how to overcome those selling tactics, how to give up right objections in order to get a lower price, how to negotiate. I learned so many valuable pieces of information, not only with personal finance, but also just with communication as well when it comes to making larger purchases like that. I think that was so critical for me because now I have a really good plan in place to help me pay off my car really, really fast. So I can have it paid off faster. So I don't have a car loan for as many years as what it's supposed to be. So you learn so much by going through that process. And yes, it might take a little bit more time and you might miss out on a car or two, or you might not be able to get the car right now, but you're going to learn so much in the process. And in the end, you're going to feel a lot better about that purchase. I want to also give a few books that I would recommend that you read if you're looking to better your knowledge on finance. The first one, and I apologize, I've actually not read this book, but I've heard such great things about it that I had to put it in here and it's on my list to read. It's called The Lords of Easy Money by Christopher Leonard. In this book, from what I read, from the summaries that I've read and what people have talked about, he explains and discusses how the money supply system works, how money works in the United States, how it's made, how it flows. Everything that goes into money is in this specific book. So if you're looking to learn every aspect of money, this would be the perfect book for you to read. The second book is The Millionaire Master Plan by Roger James Hamilton. Great book, very underrated. Not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people read it. The Millionaire Master Plan discusses your wealth profile. Everybody is in a different domain. Everybody is in a different profile of their wealth journey. So this helps you figure out where you are specifically, where you were, where you are specifically, and where you can go, and steps on how to specifically get there. Now, it's not just going to give it to you. You have to apply these steps and you have to read about it and you have to learn about it and you have to understand the book. But it's just a really good book to help you put into perspective of where you are and what is still out there to be achieved. It's a fantastic book. I highly recommend you read it. And the way that he lays it out is extremely easy to follow and it's extremely easy to understand as well. Now, I can't say the same about the last book that I'm going to recommend. It was one of the hardest books that I've ever read. And it was so hard that I have plans to go back and read it again and again and again because I want to truly understand it, because that is how impactful and how valuable I think this book is. The book is called The Creature from Jekyll Island, and it's by Vicki Robin. This book has changed my entire life. It's changed my entire view on the world, just giving me a new perspective on money. This book isn't only about money, but it's about how everything was created. The Federal Reserve, money. It's about all the wars and everything that's happened over generations and generations. It's about the education system. It's about how everything cycles back to one specific thing. It is truly insane. It blew my mind the first time that I read it. It was, I can't even put it into words. There's just so much information in this book about how everything works that you're going to come away from reading it a completely different person and have a completely different perception on life and a perspective on the world. It's extremely hard to read, though. It's almost like comparable to reading the Bible. If you've ever read the Bible, you know how intensely you have to focus and how hard it can be to read. That is what you have to do for this book. But it's well worth it. The Creature from Jekyll Island. Great book. Or what do I do that has helped me shape my mindset with money a little bit? Because I would say that my mindset towards money shifted when I started growing up, like getting older, going out on my own. After I turned 18, going to college, living through college, and then now to 26, being well-rounded financially, or well-rounded with the knowledge of finance. I don't know how to put that, but whatever. And I think that this happened because I started making more money, but then I also realized the amount of bills that come with growing up. When you grow up, you start to have a lot of bills and you start to go off on your own. You know, I just turned 26, so I'm going to have my own health insurance, vision, dental, all of that. And once that started happening, I started getting really stressed out about it. So I started really digging into personal finance and getting knowledgeable on that topic. And it's benefited me so much with every aspect of my life, really. But it's been so worth it. And I'm so grateful that I decided to become more knowledgeable on it, because I actually really enjoy it too. That's a reason why I add financial episodes into my podcast, is because I enjoy it. I'm decently knowledgeable at it. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that struggle with finances. So I think that I would be able to provide some type of value in their life by talking through this. And I want to discuss a few lessons that I've learned kind of along the way in the past 3 or 4 years. The first one is always pay yourself first. So make sure that you're investing before you're spending on any kind of wants. Make sure that you're putting your or investing in proper investments and learning about that as well. Number 2, financial knowledge is everlasting. Becoming knowledgeable about finance propels you farther than a lot of people out there. Puts you in the 10% of the world. And it's everlasting. You're going to continue to have it forever. Why? Because finance and money is something that will always be a part of everyone's daily life. So it's extremely valuable. Number 3, never have bad debt. I'm going to say that again. Never have bad debt. There's a difference. There's good debt and bad debt. And we'll leave good debt out of it today and talk about that in the future. But you never want to have bad debt. What is bad debt? Credit cards. Honestly, you can consider a car loan as bad debt. And that's kind of like counteracting to what I did. But hey, you pick and you choose, right? So you could count that, but credit cards are extremely bad because they're usually a very high interest rate And you do not want to be paying that. And you can get stuck in a hole by doing that. The next lesson I learned is you need to create a budget that works for you and your specific situation. We also need to continuously try to find ways that make us extra / more income, but also gives you back time. If we can find a way to make extra or more income, and in return, that becomes our full-time gig, but it also gives us back more time, that's where you're finding wealth, true wealth. I seriously believe that all these lessons that I've learned, and I've learned more than this, but these are mainly the core ones when it comes to personal finance. But I believe that they have truly changed my life, my financial life. I think that paying myself first, realizing that financial knowledge is extremely valuable, never having bad debt, creating a budget. I have a crazy budget that I use and it's fantastic. I love it. It tracks all my investments, how much I'm making every month, all my expenses, all my investment goals for the next year, 5, 10 years. It's tracking my net worth, everything, and it goes month by month. I love that budget spreadsheet. It's fantastic. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things that I've learned. And also just being able to find more ways to make money. I think that's extremely important. And why wouldn't you want to try and do that? The important thing that to remember and that I have to try and tell myself as well is you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional when it comes to finances. Finances can put you in a hole or it can dig you out of one. If you're intentional, you're digging yourself out. If you're not being intentional about your finances, you're digging yourself down. It doesn't really stay in the middle. So you have to be intentional with where you're putting your money, where you're spending your money, and how you're going about all of your finances. Your relationship with money starts in your mind. How you think about it, how you respond to it, how you plan for it. Shifting your mindset isn't about having an overnight success with your financial habits. It's about making those intentional choices that compound over time. Your financial habits compound just like your investments compound. Compound interest. Damn right. So when you develop discipline, emotional awareness, and a long-term vision for your financial habits, that is when wealth stops being just a dream and starts becoming a strategy, a long-term play to create the life that you've always wanted. Finances are critical when it comes to building something incredible. That is it for today's episode. As always, thanks for being with me today, and I will see everyone in the next episode.